Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller training video. A Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates. I see you as that someday. Licensed presenters. Maybe before you become an affiliate you find it beneficial to be a presenter, official in any way. I encourage you to be one before you get to be an official one. A presenter of the two things. But let me go on. This is for affiliates, presenters, the core new core. You might be among that group. The core new core. And anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor, student, or a human being. It's been a while since I've routinely delivered my introduction because I have a series of broadcasts where there was no sound and it was all mime and sign language and meaningless movement, meant to reinforce the message that I've come to see the structure of what I'm hoping that you perceive as value. Because it helps you survive as a Pilates instructor, as a Pilates student, right? Or just being in your own body. So, there's two things on my list today. Titles. Usually it's titles that congeal out of notes that happened during my intermediate reformer workout. Oh, yes. And what was so much fun about all the pantomime was I got to bring in more props and talk about rotation. And rotation, one rotation of what this is, we consider to be one day. And now today, it's 9 days. It's 9 days till the solstice. And 9 is precious and near and dear to me because it's symbolically associated with the folklore of the hermit who stands on a peak and holds out a light, and that's where I've been the last 4 years. Here on this peak, holding out the light so that in your navigation through wherever you're going and whatever you're doing, you might be able to identify two sensations, two things you can feel. Remember, that's the heart of and the base of what I'm trying to share with you are two feelings. One I consider to be a sensation where you can engage in core new tension, both from ears to shoulders and all the way out through to your metatarsals. And the other, a feeling that I consider to be an experience where you're in a state of being in the body, in the moment of the doing. So it's a very much in the moment thing, and as such is an experience, and that experience is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. And which brings the second title of my broadcast today, before the first one, is Joe's Pinnacle of Achievement. To me, from my point of view, his pinnacle of achievement. that will span the millennia, I think, thousands of years, is providing choreography and a definition of what your target was and a means in which it was to be done. So the definition, out of his book, Contrology is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. That is what MMP's point of view is, a state of being in the body in the moment of the doing. That's what your target is. That's what you're reaching for, is that experience. And so it isn't a matter of body, mind, and more mind. It isn't a matter of how intellectual you can think whatever it is you're doing. It's the degree of coordination between those three capacities. And for me, in my point of view, the pinnacle of Joe's achievement is to be able to describe a coordination of three things that he called body, mind, and spirit. And it's purely now a Michael Miller-Pilates point of view that takes the word spirit and takes it to mean something other than mind. And mind is taken to be thinking. Right? So the thinking that Michael Miller-Pilates looks at is what's happening in the prefrontal cortex. And the spirit is something other than that mind. On a biological, simple, organic level, I look at the hippocampus and the amygdala areas of the brain as feeding information into all that thinking going on. And the trick is to coordinate what's coming into you in your senses with what's thinking, and that your listening or connection to that produces an experience. And so the thing about Michael Miller-Pilates that you can feel is that it is an experience. Now that just becomes one point of view out of all kinds of points of view. But the more you have in your hand control of, or at least a grasp of MMP as a POV among all that are out there, yours, mine, and everyone else's. And I think the better you have an understanding of the distinction of the MMP point of view compared to, I would say, all the others that are out there currently in 2020. And what I mean by that is that the predominant point of view of Pilates is through folklore. And folklore by definition is word of mouth, knowledge passed down by word of mouth. A different kind of knowledge is theory, which is an explanation of what it is for what it is, in the hopes to explain it beyond how it's currently understood. I've got the word trans and the prefix trans in my head. So Michael Miller-Pilates, as a point of view, goes beyond tradition. It transcends is the word I wanted. It transcends beyond what there is in seeing Pilates within a view of folklore, and seeks to explain Pilates, which in and of itself is unique, because the predominant folklore convenient assumption is that Pilates has no explanation and that it can't be explained and will always be a mystery. when Joe published this book, there are no more relics in the attic. There is no Holy Grail beyond what's right here. Now, if you're into Holy Grails and want to make your life about the pursuit of culture and history, and relevance being what comes from history beyond what he wrote, okay, just know that MMP is totally based on and comes from what's in Joe's book. It's an interpretation of Pilates. It's a theory about what makes Pilates Pilates, based on what's in Joe's book, under the assumption that it is the experience that the theory is trying to explain. And starts right off with what's in Joe's book, saying that contrology is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. I've forever imagined spirit being lightning, because lightning is the universal sign language, whatever I brushed up against, for spirit. And something you end up observing that comes from outside of you and like behind you into your awareness or into your recognition. And yet the more I talk about the human body and that there's two things inside of here, there's all that thinking going on, and that there are other parts of the brain, and that it is the source of the lightning isn't necessarily from outside of yourself as a human being, but the source of the lightning that's coming from somewhere else other than the thinking are the amygdala and hippocampal areas of the brain. So Joe's pinnacle of achievement is in just striving for and achieving to some extent. Contrology is complete. It's what it is, and it's up to you to decide when it is. And those who would delay delivery of essential understanding in order to milk the situation are part of human nature, but I'd want you as a student to see between the lines and be looking for whatever gives you a better understanding of the passion that you feel, if that's possible. So that was, I said, that was like number 2. So Joe's pinnacle, yeah. The human body, mind, and spirit. And I think he'd be Joe, if he were still alive, would be all over the fact that in quantum physics, the whole manifestation of and participation in observing, that the data seems to indicate that observing shows characteristics of being connected to the universe faster than light. I think he'd be all over that. And about that as the experience that you're reaching for in the performance of the choreography, which is a homage to the reality that we find ourselves in. A human body in gravity. A human body in reality, but human being, water-based, moving through air mostly, carrying that load. That's why gravity forces the issue of what? You should know that by now. Oh, so my number one title, quicksand, alligators, James Bond. Skipping across the top of the alligators to make an escape. My number one title today on my email is that Pilates comes before gender. Pilates is about being alive, and that aliveness is happening within the broader world of the physical world that we're living in. Right? The biology inside of the physics. Now, okay, there's all kinds of philosophers among you that would want to take that, the other side of that, me too, just for the sake of exploring that way. But I'm pretty practical in thinking, I think, that the human organism lives and dies, and the consistency of reality has a strong resonance to it. That through science and data, and we tend to call reality that which we can, that reproducible results, right? Oh. In the MMP point of view, it looks at the human being and recognizes the biomechanics in play within it, and uses knowledge of that biomechanics to pursue the performance of the Pilates mat, which is a sequence of exercises choreographed and described by Joe in his book. That's the third thing you want to know to be an MMP presenter. So 3 things from Joe: his definition, his statement that contrology develops the body uniformly, and his sequence. When it comes to the pursuit of the performance of the choreography, what you're aiming for happens way before gender becomes an issue. Because what you're aiming for through core new tension is being the tension between 2 points, in our body's case, rotations at different endpoints. And these endpoints and the biomechanical implementation that happens around them, or with them, through them, comes way before gender. The pattern that you seek to perform has ideal characteristics woven throughout it that are directly tied to, did you just get my email? That are directly tied to boy, that broke my train of thought. Oh. In MMP for Michael Miller Pilates, that's a view of Pilates that comes out of thinking. It's a theory to make an explanation. It really has nothing to do with who you are, or who you worked with, or how long you've been doing it. It has everything to do with discovering a point of view just based on 3 things in Joe's book that delivers my best explanation of the experience of Pilates that I can. And right there, in making a statement like that, it's a statement that assumes that there is an experience to be had. And that narrows down the point of view all that much more. I'm not saying that all these other point of views don't exist. I'm just hoping that I make the point of view that I'm trying to illuminate so it's where'd it go? Probably right underneath me. I can't find it here. So it's 9 days until the axis of rotation changes or shifts, predictable right down to the second, for a large number of years into the future. There's tables, timeanddate.com. So doing Pilates, doing the mat, is about being human, because you have this way of engaging your body that you choose to do when you seek to develop the body uniformly. So to the extent that you think that developing the body uniformly matters, and it's part of doing Pilates, then I encourage you to at least hear it going by when I tell you that core new tension is how the body accomplishes that. It's biomechanical. It's a theory. And yet it's a theory that you can feel. I wrote something down here somewhere. I know it through my own sensation, and you can too. So in 9 days, the solstice. And what I celebrate is the experience of Pilates and the role that observing plays in my participation in and pursuit of doing Pilates. So for all the other points of view that are out there, this is my 14th year that I'm sure of in a row. Maybe there were earlier ones, but I don't have documentation of being there. 14 years. Observing the solstice at Eagle's Nest. And observing the solstice means observing the time when it happens. And what matters is, because of the pandemic, you don't have to come and gather as much as be aware of when, and take pause to make observation of the when, to participate in what I and others hope to be doing at that moment. when you identify a group, then you want to apply labels to what makes it a group, which is inherently dangerous. When it comes to gender, and that's now more spectrum than anything in terms of the simulation of humanity's projection of what gender is or what it means. Groups have different characteristics that vary in the way they engage the capacities you're after in reaching for the experience. So a presumption of, I had that the other way around, a pretense of the presumption, a pretense of the presumption. MMP is this little narrow point of view that's crystal clear. It's an explanation based on what Joe wrote and gives you a buoy in the night in terms of a point of view of Pilates that me, alive or dead, because it's established and others are aware of it. I wish I could have helped make it more people more aware of it. MMP is always fertile ground for conversation, just to see how much somebody understands of what the point of view is. I gotta go. Pilates is not jazz. You do Pilates to move like jazz. Today is June 11th, right? 9 days. It's in the anticipation that there can be preparation. And it's in the preparation that you improve your likelihood of surviving. Like when to plant crops. So, as I've been saying, the best I have to give you is the ability to order a t-shirt. Order it at least 2 sizes larger than you think, at least. Because they come like postage stamps. I heard from a friend of mine that ordered hers a long time ago. And she said, yeah, the 2 I got, way small. But the one that's cut out, like a tank top, I don't even know if that's available in Zazzle or not. Order 2 sizes at least over. So you can wear it as a muumuu or a shift over when you're teaching. It's a billboard showing that you know. It's a billboard of a connection to a view of biomechanics that's a theory the other t-shirt I thought I'd show you is a t-shirt where this is a list of the mat that you if you wore, you could lift up and look at. So it's printed upside down. I did it with printing out an iron applique. And on the inside of the shirt is the reformer list. Because the tough part about performing a choreography is your lack of familiarity with it, to the point that it doesn't come naturally or automatically. We talked earlier about preppers and all the things they do to prepare for when the doo-doo hits the fan. And doing Pilates on a routine basis, pursuing the performance of the mat in whatever way you can, in whatever expression of the exercises that is appropriate for you and your body, which can be far from the original choreography, but it's got to resonate. It's got to be uniform eccentric loading flowing through progressive patterns of motion. Does that sound familiar? Because that's the definition of MMP. And to the extent you memorize that definition, you don't have to agree with it. You can think it's outlandish, but at least in knowing exactly what the definition is, it establishes the same kind of authority you have when you can quote Joe's definition of contrology. Word for word, without an extra article, the, in there. It isn't the complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. It is complete coordination of body, mind, and spirit. That's the target that you're after in the performance of the choreography. And what one gender shows capability in, or lack of capability in, exists in other genders, in other balances. But regardless of what gender has a predominant capacity in one of the three characteristics that I'm always talking about, being, thinking, and observing, it takes a complete coordination of all three to get to the experience. So don't be guilty of a pretense of indulging in the presumption that your gender matters when it comes to doing Pilates. Because within the purview of MMP, the biology accomplishes the physics, and whatever the biology's gender, the biology is still trying to accomplish the physics. And of course, that's unique to MMP, and that maybe not unique, is it? I don't know. But I know it's definitive of MMP that MMP thinks Pilates has an essence of its own. Life can't live forever. So read between the lines and see behind the curtain. Add behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Evaluate points of view. Pilates has so much to offer you. Even if you're already a reverend mother in the sisterhood of Pilates. Don't let the advantage that a gender gives you overlook the disadvantage that comes with it. Be it in your thinking or be it in your observing. So know how to make an offer. Direct your thinking and Geist.